I'm Karen Das. Welcome to another weekly recap of Trinidad Bhojpuri Words and Phrase. Joining me in this episode, Dr. Visham Bhimull of Caribbean Hindustani, Vinay Harrichan of the Cutlass magazine. Let's get started with our Kaise Boli segment. Kaise Bole Hindustani mein, how do you say in Hindustani? Kaise Bole ash Hindustani mein. Now we know ash is what you get when something is burnt. It's the remains of whatever is burnt. So if you're cooking on a chulha, there's bound to be ash. You burn incense, there's going to be ash, and we know that there's ash from a cremation. So, kaise bole ash Hindustani mein? Based on your comments, we had rak and rakhi. And special thanks to Nalini for making mention of the song Main Duniya Ko Rak Kar Dunga.
Yes, so kaise bole ashes Hindustani mein, as Karen mentioned, we got those two predominant answers, rak and rakhi. Now, in terms of a Trinidad Bhojpuri dialect, it seems like rak is more of a Hindi word, whereas rakhi is typically used in our local dialect. And so there's a couple of contexts that we need to clarify here. So when it comes to rakhi, it seems like there's two main situations that we use it in Trinidad. Now, there's one context where rakhi refers to ash that you get when you put the lakri or the stick in a chulha or a fireside. And then when that stick starts to burn, it first becomes chaila, which is the wooden bits, the burnt wooden chips. And then as it breaks down even more and becomes ash, then we get rakhi. And therefore that ash is what a lot of people are familiar with, what they would use with the manjana or the scrubber to then manje or scrub the bartan or wares. And so that's one context over there. Now, the other context is when you have a body that is obviously going to go to the samsan or the crematorium and starts to break down when you put it on the funeral pyre. And so the ash from that body is also referred to as rakhi. And one thing that I did see, some people commented the word asti or astia, and asti or astia in a more Hindi or Sanskrit context is used for the ash from a body. However, as I mentioned, that seems to be more Sanskrit based than Hindi based than our local Bhojpuri. Now, there's also another word or another context. Some people answered with babut or vibhuti. Now, when it comes to babut, which we had done a couple of months ago, or vibhuti, those typically are used when referring to sacred ash. So people who know the word vibhuti might know it in reference to Satya Sai Baba with the vibhuti that he would offer to his devotees. And then many people know babut being the ash that you might get from the agarbatti or incense when it starts to burn out, or the ash that you might use for a tilak or a tikka. And so those are the two different versions there. There's the sacred ash, babut, vibhuti, and the ash that you get from a lakri burning or the body burning, and that would be the rakhi. And there is a song, a Baita Gana song or Suriname song by the name of Agni Nahi We Rak, and it's sung by Hari Subalat. Agni Nahi We Rak is talking about the ash that you get from a fire obviously being Agni.
Next, a Trinidad Bhojpuri word, DEWTAA. Very simple. God, goddess, based on your comments. Male manifestation of God, male deity, masculine form of God. DEWTAA.
So I grew up knowing the word DEWTAA, that's Trinidad Bhojpuri. You hear the same in Hindi as well. Now there's, you hear DEWTAA, but as far as I know, conversationally in Hindi and Hindustani, whenever you use va, you always pronounce as wa. So even though it's spelled DEVATAA, DEWTAA, you'd hear it in the conversational speech and not formal speech as DEWTAA, which was the original pronunciation from the spoken varieties of Sanskrit. We have a lot of those words in Trinidad Bhojpuri where we still maintain that sort of pronunciation like DEWTAA, meaning divinity, deity, and deity in English is the same root as DEWTAA, as you could see.
Next, we have a Trinidad Bhojpuri phrase or expression. Well, two words actually. DAYAA, KARO. A very simple expression, very simple request. So, DAYAA, KARO, based on your response, have compassion, have pity, have mercy. And Indra made mention of this. She recalls her mom saying DAYAA, KARO when she was very ill.
Yeah, so Daya Karo, we're gonna go ahead and break it up. Daya means mercy, kindness, pity, compassion. And then Karo is just the Hindustani verb meaning to do something. So Daya Karo, when you combine it, means to have compassion, have mercy, have pity, have kindness for somebody for their situation. And a lot of Hindus know this from being a very popular sentence, a very popular phrase featured in our bhajans or religious hymns. And one particular one that we wanted to spotlight, knowing that we're, approaching Diwali, is the popular bhajan, Hey Lakshmi Mata Daya Karo, which means, Hey Mother Lakshmi, have mercy, have compassion, have pity for me. And this version is sung by a very popular local singer in Trinidad named Basil Jaikaran. And again, Dayakaro means to have compassion, mercy, pity, kindness to me.
Next, we had PURAAN, not to be confused with PURAAN, which show PURAAN, for those who know, the chipped up onion and the garlic and the pepper that you put in the kalchul and you heat it up with the oil and then you chonke with that. That's PURAAN. PURAAN is very different and it's also a very popular name. So based on your messages, stories from the holy books, something that is old, and Anurag made mention of the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, Bhagavad, Garud, Puran books of Sanatan culture. Puran.
Yeah, well, they are linked. Purania is the word meaning old or the adjective in Trinidad Bhojpuri, but Puran itself is borrowed from Puran, which would be the Paurashaya or the books that was written by man. This is our Paurashaya, which would be the Vedas. And it also comes from the same root as Purania, which is old, obviously history books in that context, involving Hindi Itihas. And well, under the history books, the Itihasas would include the Puran. Everybody know about the Garud Puran, Bhagavad Puran, and so again, this being Puranas in history or old knowledge, and then the Ramayana as well as the Mahabharata, which also included under the Itihasas or Paurushaya of man compositions.
Now, we usually wrap up with a food-related word, sohaareee. We went with this past week, sohaareee, and we know sohaareee leaf, and many of you knew very well sohaareee, meaning prasad, based on your comments, that which is offered to the Devi, that which is offered to Durga as prasad or parsad, and it goes well with lapsi, so it's a sweet roti. It's, let's see, based on other comments here, fried in ghee. And someone, Navin Viraj is saying, made mention of this sohaareee, basically puri, it's fried puri, but without a baking powder, as someone mentioned to me on the radio show. And why do we call the leaf sohaareee leaf? Based on the response we received, it's basically because the lawyers, while preparing the sohaareee, the lawyers were placed on this particular leaf, and so it became known as sohaareee leaf. But here's Dr. Visham Bhimull to tell us more.
Now, what they make as puri in India, it's quite similar as to how you make sohaareee. It's usually, though I find it always sweet. It's not savory at all. And then I know it's sweet because usually it's offered with lapsi or sweet rice. The individual who said that it's offered the DVS because normally we'd offer 9 in sandwich, 2 sohaareee or puris with either lapsi. Well, lapsi I know with tulsi as well as panjari, which we did already, or just sweet rice with tulsi. I believe that that leaf was encountered here in the Caribbean. I don't notice it in India anywhere, as well as even in Suriname and Guyana, they use purine leaf, which was the lotus leaf. Um, so we would find that it related to the banana plant, because it looks quite similar, but it doesn't have that large vein in the middle like the banana. And I guess it was more convenient because that large vein in the banana plant does make the sides of the leaf slop to the side. And if you're offering things like sweet rice or lapsi, it will fall to the side as opposed to the sohari, which is flat. As a child, when we used to do Devi Puja, yeah, when they need it and flatten it out, they would do it on the leaf itself. And because it used to offer as well as prepare the sohari roti, that's why they call it sohari leaf.
And there you have it. Another weekly recap of Trinidad Bhojpuri Words and Phrase. This is a KBC production in collaboration with Vinay Harrichan of the Cutlass magazine and to Dr. Visham Bhimull of Caribbean Hindustani. Thank you all so much for your contribution, for your feedback, for your messages, your comments. And we look forward to another weekly recap next week. Till then.